Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tim McCone. Big crowds inside the DCU Center. Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump is in town tonight. We're told more than 10,000 people attended his campaign rally. He's drawing supporters, some protesters, and others just curious to see what Trump will say next. Here's a few of the topics Mr. Trump covered tonight.
They're using the internet and they're recruiting people. And then the people go out to fight for ISIS. And then we let them back into the country. We let them back in. Where have you been? I've been fighting for ISIS. Oh, come on back in. Go back home to Texas. No, how stupid are we? When they leave the country, when they go to fight for ISIS or Al-Qaeda or whoever the hell they're fighting, they never, ever come back into this country again. Ever. Ever.
After the speech, Trump supporters were enthused by the candidate's performance.
I think he was just fantastic. He's like us. He talks like we do, okay? And that's why I love him so much. He's going to be great.
Awesome. Awesome. Just as I expected, just as I've been watching. Awesome.
I think Trump was awesome. He's got a very clear and direct message, and I love it.
Trump's speech was interrupted 3 times by demonstrators inside the arena tonight. The third interruption came late in Trump's speech when he was discussing food stamps. Trump was not afraid to respond to the demonstrator.
I mentioned food stamps, and that guy who's seriously overweight went crazy. He went crazy. Amazing. Amazing.
Prior to tonight's event, Donald Trump fielded questions from the media for about 25 minutes, including why he chose the city of Worcester for his rally.
Because I love it, that's why. And I love the people, and they've been so supportive, and I get notes and letters and emails and everything from this area. And I don't know if you saw, but in Massachusetts, we have a 48 in terms of the poll, and I think second is what, like 9 or 11? We're 48. Second is, actually, I think it was 9. It didn't even crack double digits. I love Massachusetts. I have many, many friends in Massachusetts, and it's just an amazing place. And I think we're going to do really well. Forget about in terms of primaries. I think we're going to do great in the general election.
Crowds outside the DCU Center tonight wound around the building and went on for several city blocks. The rally's start was actually delayed about a half hour. At one point, the Trump campaign said there were still 4,000 people waiting in line to get in after 7 o'clock. Rallygoers were met by a couple of groups of protesters outside. It's Trump's stance on immigration that's one of the big topics of concern.
We don't support his bigoted views. We don't support the hatred that he brings to America. We don't support how he overgeneralizes and calls everyone criminals, rapists, because that's not what we are. That's not who we are.
Now, before any of the crowds, there was a lot of setup today to get ready for Trump's visit. Our Andy Madison spent the day talking to locals about the buzz around Trump's Worcester rally.
Taking care of the vets. You understand
he is
that.
perhaps
These
the
other
one
guys
Republican
couldn't give a
presidential
damn about
candidate many seem to already have strong opinions about.
If I had a chance, I would see him, you know. It's being pretty interesting what he has to say about all these current events.
I do think he is a little bit of a showboat, and he's getting attention just with some radical comments.
There's an article today that he falls asleep every time he gets into a car to drive.
Donald Trump's unpredictability has many planning to attend tonight's rally at the DCU Center.
I would go to kind of hear what he said because he always comes up with something new that's interesting, that's always hitting news.
There's expected to be lots of people and extra security downtown for Trump.
I do know I work right over here, and there's going to be an awful lot of traffic to avoid tonight.
While most candidates are spending a lot of time in places like New Hampshire and Iowa, Trump is the first Republican candidate to come to the area. So why Worcester? A few we spoke with say it could help Trump and the city in the long run.
When's the last time a presidential candidate came to Worcester? I mean, finally. The fact it's Trump, well, that is what it is.
It probably helps get Worcester on the map for the political scene.
Central Massachusetts, not too far from New Hampshire, which has the first in the nation primary next year. The latest polls show that Trump has extended his lead in the Granite State. That's the latest at the DCU Center. I'm Andy Madison.